Wow. Let us pray. Looking for these better days. Hey, Jake Paul spills the beans on what officially happened in the Canelo fight that he was supposed to have. He goes in and really for the first time publicly gives his take on what went on and what caused the fallout and why we're not getting that fight and instead getting Canelo versus William Scull, a fight that nobody asked for. In this video, I will break it down and let you know what Jake Paul said in a brand new podcast. So you don't really want to miss this one.
And like the situation with me, basically everything was ready to go, 1 yard line, signed LOI and confidentiality agreement, but basically Turki hates me, absolutely hates me. We heard through the back channels for multiple weeks because we've been negotiating since the Monday after the Tyson fight. So we were negotiating for 2 months straight.
That's a lot of time.
And the whole entire time, Turki was doing everything in his power to strip the fight, try to not make it happen, calling Canelo, calling Eddie Reynoso, basically saying, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? To the point where he had to threaten Canelo to pull his 3-fight deal. You're not fighting Crawford. I'm not paying you any of this money. And he's basically paying him over $100 million for this random ass fight in May. And Canelo at some point is like, okay, you bought me. Like, I'm not going to fight this kid, Jake. That's basically what happened. I can explain like the situation with me. Basically, everything was ready to go, 1 yard line, signed LOI and confidentiality agreement. But basically Turki hates me.
Facts.
Absolutely hates me. We heard through the back channels for multiple weeks because we've been negotiating since the Monday after the Tyson fight. So we were negotiating for 2 months straight.
2 whole months.
That's a lot of time.
And the whole entire time, Turki was doing everything in his power to strip the fight, try to not make it happen, calling Canelo, calling Eddie Reynoso, basically saying, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? To the point where he had to threaten Canelo to pull his 3-fight deal. You're not fighting Crawford. I'm not paying you any of this money. And he's basically paying him over $100 million for this random ass fight in May. And Canelo at some point is like, okay, you bought me. Like, I'm not going to fight this kid, Jake. That's basically what.
Wow. Some serious implications there. Now, this is just sad, man. This is truly sad time for the career of Canelo Alvarez. First of all, do I believe Jake Paul with what he says in this clip? Absolutely. I, of course, believe it because there obviously was a fight that he said LOI, letter of intent, and they were on the 1 yard line. They just had to do the actual formalities of signing the contract. And basically, it took for Turki Al-Sheikh to intervene and block and get in the way of that and pretty much offer Canelo Alvarez a deal that, if you know Canelo, he wouldn't turn down. It's like free money. I get to fight a smaller Crawford, right? A welterweight, and a guy who started at lightweight instead of somebody my size. I get to fight William Scull. And according to Jake Paul, he's saying that Canelo is getting $100 million pretty much per fight, or at least in that upcoming fight with William Scull. So that's good for Canelo Alvarez in terms of he making a lot of money. But I always say, at what cost? You're making a lot of money, but you don't care about anything else, and that's apparent. You don't care about your fans because you're fighting on the Mexican dates that are only celebrated here in America, and all the people who followed your career and came out to your fights in America, you've turned your back on them and you've abandoned them and made it infinitely harder for them to go see your fights. That's the reality of it. It is not easier to go if you live in East LA or Arizona or Texas or Cali or wherever, right? Nevada, New York. If you're Hispanic, if you're Latino, if you're Mexican, if you're just a Canelo fan that lives in the States and you've always supported Canelo, you know, we're talking about in Vegas, you look at some of those weigh-ins. The weigh-ins were packed. A lot of people there. But all that's out the window. Now to see Canelo in an undeserving fight that no one really asked for with William Scull, literally most of the people, even the Cinnabons, the Chupapi Muñeños, the diehard Canelo fans, have not watched this guy fight. So I know for a fact, majority of them, they could type whatever and say I'm wrong, but they're not going to fly 20 hours to Saudi Arabia on their own accord, on their own dime, to go watch Canelo Scull live. So it's just going to be a watered down event. The undercard sucks. The card is not good. You know, the best fight is Bacoli, but he just got knocked out in 2 rounds where he didn't have to. But Turki brought him in late terms. You know what I mean? So the mask is slipping for Turki. Turki came in saying, I want the best for boxing. I want to bridge the gap with promoters, no sides of the street. I have the infrastructure. I have the capital, the cash flow to get fights done, and everybody works together. This was a lie because you're now seeing that Turki is actively stopping David Benavidez from getting a mandatory shot at Bivol. And he's like pretty much putting Bivol, hey, you know who's looked out for you. Don't make the wrong choice. Don't be late to dinner, right? And Jake Paul is telling you for a fact that it was Turki who bought Canelo and pulled him. You know what I mean? So you can't say you're making boxing great again. You can't say you want everyone to work together. Canelo really could have fought Jake Paul, did a big event in America, and then fought Crawford later in September, right? Done. But you got in the way of it. You offered him money. Canelo's going to take the easy work rather than get his hands dirty with David Benavidez, or I guess he saw fit over the fight. Now he's in a fight no one even cares about with William Scull. Good luck. So it's funny because, you know, Turki's like bragging, do not mess with the lion, like he did something. But this is an L. You won the bidding war, but you lost everything else. The card is not big. People aren't like excited for it. It's an opponent that no one wants to see Canelo fight. He should have just went straight into the Crawford fight. So you're bragging about it, but now you got to pay him $100 million for a fight that's definitely gonna flop. So I don't see the real win for boxing, and I don't even see the win for Riyadh season or Saudi or Turkey. You should have let the Jake Paul fight happen, because it's cool you have money and then you lured him over. But again, you did this for what? To not have a big fight, and then now you're going to lose money. You're going to lose mass. If you have to pay Canelo $100 million, like Jake Paul is saying, you're losing lots of money on a William Scull fight. And I know some people are like, oh, money doesn't matter. I mean, who is in the market to lose upwards of $100 million just cause? Like, who wants to do that? No matter if you're a trillionaire, a billionaire. Like, if that's the case, why is Elon Musk, who has billions of dollars, when Tesla's stock is down and people are not buying Tesla, why is he panicking? You know, if he could just lose infinite amounts of money, it don't matter. He a billionaire.